Welcome back to Rome. My contributors today are Spencer Hall from SBNation.com and Lee Jenkins from Sports Illustrated, and we are going in. It's good to see both you guys. Spencer, let me start with you. It looks like the Saints may have more problems. ESPN is reporting that GM Mickey Loomis may have had a device set up whereby he could monitor the opposing coaching staff over a 3-year period, or nearly 3 years. The Saints are already saying that is not true. Quote, it's 1,000% false. If this is true, how big of a problem do they have now?
Twice the problem they had originally, because what they can do now is they can establish a pattern of behavior, okay? And then the step after that will be to isolate Loomis from the Saints themselves. They can say, okay, well, listen, this was Loomis, this wasn't us. That's a little bit disingenuous considering he's their GM. The real question to me is how effective it was, because you might say, well, they went, I believe, 8-8, 7-9, 8-8 in those years in which Loomis was allegedly listening in. Well, that's 8-8. That's still different than 7-9. One game in the NFL is a huge margin, and they'll take it. So there's a lot of things at play here, if true.
A couple of issues. Number one, they're not if they did it. If they did it, you're not doing it unless there's an edge to be gained. Otherwise, why would you be doing it? And number two, we may be talking about a federal issue here. Never mind the NFL. We may be talking about the FBI.
Yeah, I mean, Roger Goodell, for him, the Saints were almost like a childlike franchise. I mean, given how much work he did to renovate the Superdome, and he came down hard on them for Bountygate. If he comes down harder than them than he did on the Patriots for Spygate, taking away draft picks, the fines, I mean, this franchise could be set back a decade, maybe more because of this.
Good point. If it's true, is it much worse than Spygate? How do you compare the two?
I don't know if you can compare them, especially because of what was at stake. I think Spygate actually meant more because it was a practice of cheating that occurred in a time with a very good team. There was obviously some correlation between potential benefit and outrageous success that the Patriots enjoyed. That's not quite the connection we have.
The reason I think it might be worse is that Spygate, you could see what was going on. You know, it was still in the field of play. In this case, he's actually in the coach's headsets, and you wonder, is he then communicating this information to Jim Haslett was then the head coach? Is he then communicating that at halftime? Is he saving it for the next time they face each other? Still a lot of questions to be answered.
There may not be a big game when we're talking about the Saints back then when they're going 8-8, right, but it was over a period of 2+ years. So we're talking about home games every single week. You know, my last thought on this is talk about the big picture of the Saints. We were talking about literally what had become America's team. The entire region was revitalized. They won a Super Bowl. You think about Drew Brees. You think about one of the true character guys. Now when you think of the Saints, what do you think about with that Brown? You think about Bountygate. You think about possible federal laws being broken. Look how much damage they've done to that brand allegedly in the last few months.
Allegedly. And I think that's the funny part about this is that this is still the New Orleans Saints. And no story in New Orleans, however uplifting, comes without some sort of string or tie to corruption. So, like, this is almost a perfect little bow tie to put on the situation because it makes it the regional story. It makes it the home story that New Orleans deserves, right, which is that it's exciting, it's intrigue, and ultimately there's this little bit of dirt to it.
If it's true, there's a lot of dirt to it, and is that even the last thing? Who knows? Let's talk about Metta World Peace right now. Now, he's saying that elbow that he threw was inadvertent, it was unintentional. Are you buying that?
No, I don't buy it, because if it were true, he would have dropped right then and seen Harden and seen if he was okay. I mean, he took off running, he was still pounding his chest, and now, I mean, he is going to put the Lakers in such a difficult position, a team that already lacked depth, and now has to move forward without its best wing defender, probably 7 games, 10 games.
I think that Metta World Peace totally believes it was unintentional. I think Ron Artest probably thinks it was totally intentional.
Is the guy really Metta World Peace? I mean, he had been on his best behavior, won an NBA award for being the citizen of the league, and frankly, he had tried real hard. He had improved on the floor and off the floor in terms of his behavior, but did he ever really change? Is the guy still Ron Artest?
Well, I think the Lakers really wanted him to be that old Ron Artest. And the more citizenship awards he's won and the more he's done for psychiatric awareness, they've been fine with that. But let's remember why they brought him in. They brought him in after the '08 finals in Boston when they were soft and they needed an edge. And he went in the showers and told Kobe Bryant that he would be his enforcer. And that's what the Lakers need him to be. And they have been dancing this very dangerous dance with him for years. And it went over the line.
The edge is fine. It's the flagrant 2 and the automatic ejection. And hey, what if they lose this guy for the entire first round? I mean, you want attitude and edge, but you don't want over the top and dirty.
Well, and they might be able to solder together the first round. They might be able to get that. I mean, keep in mind, we're talking about Metta World Peace, the artist formerly known as Ron Artest, but we're also talking about the ramp up to the playoffs. And inevitably, the finesse and skill game that is the NBA ramps into a more physical thing come the playoffs. So this might be a guy who has a past history, and maybe the only real past history that you need to be concerned about in terms of on the field or on the court conduct in the NBA. But this is also something that happens every year. It just so happens to have landed on a particularly familiar number.
All right, guys, sit tight. When we come back, we will continue to hit today's hottest topics, including the Red Sox epic collapse against the Yankees on Saturday, plus much, much more. Do not go anywhere. We are coming right back. Welcome back to Rome. I'm joined by Spencer Hall and Lee Jenkins. Let's get right back to it. I want to talk about the Boston Red Sox, guys, but let me start you off with a tweet. This one comes from Linksman102. Did the Bo Sox really need to change managers, and will Valentine make it to the All-Star break? Will he make it to the All-Star break? Lee, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
I think he'll make it to the All-Star break. They have too many good players coming back from injury. He had the support of the ownership, and he can also sort of fall back on that collapse last September that the wounds haven't totally healed. But clearly, he tried to change the culture in Boston, and he maybe tried too hard to change it. I mean, this is a team that was used to sort of the careful touch of Terry Francona, almost like a Phil Jackson type who lets his players be themselves, and he's come in, I think, too aggressively.
Yeah, he has a stepdad problem, right? I mean, right now he's the stepdad, and I just wonder why Bobby Valentine hasn't done what all great baseball managers do, which is less than they think they do, just light up a cigar, look impressive, put everyone in the right order, and just let men be men.
That's not his deal. That's not his deal, and that's why they brought him in. Hey, look, just All-Star break does not mean that it was the right hire. At the end of the day, is it a good fit, and was it a good hire? I know it's early in the season, but can we say right now whether or not that was a good hire?
No, I don't think so, given the personnel in that clubhouse. I mean, they're sensitive guys, they're prickly guys who've been there before, and they don't really need more attention on them, especially in Boston. They want to be insulated from attention. Terry Francona did that well. Bobby Valentine, he brings more attention, more questions to them. That whole Euclid dust-up last week, that showed right there that he doesn't get it yet.
Well, and Pedroia said, hey, look, we don't do things like that around here. What he's saying is you got something to say to one of us, you say it to us, you don't air us out publicly like that. Where do you come out? Do you think that was unfair that he was critical of Euclid publicly?
I don't think it was unfair. It might have been unwise, though, given the lay of the land. It's something that he clearly doesn't understand at this point, and you don't want to do that learning in public. You want to keep that private. You want to make it a dry run, and then if you do comment publicly on somebody, take a page from Phil Jackson. All right, do it pointedly, do it rarely, and do it at the exact right time.
There is nothing Zen-like with Bobby Valentine. All right, let's go to Phil Humber. He throws a perfect game, and there's only been 21 in the history of Major League Baseball, but 3 in the last 3 years. Are perfect games the new no-hitter? Are no-hitters the new complete game shutout? I mean, is it that watered down now?
It's funny, when Mark Buehrle threw his perfect game in 2009, I got called out of a security line at an airport, sent right to Detroit to meet with Buehrle, where he was the next day. It was the biggest story. This weekend, no phone call. It's like, it feels like we've become kind of numb to it. And maybe part of that is just in the post-steroid era, teams aren't as good. We aren't seeing as many good offenses. There are about 5 or 6 teams out there, and the Mariners are one of them, who you feel like could get no hit every night.
Like if it happens to a horrible Seattle team, does it even make a sound?
It should, because there still have only been 21 perfect games in the history of Major League Baseball.
But
right?
3 in the last 3 years.
Well, it's a clump. Statistics clump, all right? This is a clump. We might not have another one for 20 or 30 years.
Or 2 more before the end of the year.
Correct.
I mean, what do you think? Is it a clump or an anomaly, or is this the way it is now?
And we've even had, I mean, Dallas Braid, we've had Roy Halladay,
right.
Buehrle, this. I mean, it just feels like it's happening every couple of months, and people aren't as attuned to it. I think it has become the new no-hitter, and I think it will be until we sort of see an offensive uptick in baseball. I mean, Philip Humber wasn't even, I mean, this is a guy who was in the minor leagues with the Twins. He was waived by the Royals. Granted, he was a former top 5 pick, but we are not talking about Roy Halladay.
Well, yeah, but historically, there's a long list of people on that perfect games list who really don't belong there, right? You've got Len Barker, right? I think Mike Witt is in that list.
Harvey Haddix.
Yeah, Harvey Haddix. You've got a lot of people on that list who are mediocre pitchers. It's rare than being struck by lightning, and I think it's similar in that it is rare and doesn't always happen where you think it's going to happen.
Spencer, let's talk UFC 145. Bones Jones, I thought was spectacular, and you don't have to choke a guy out or knock a guy out to be dominant, and he was dominant. Let me ask you this: do you think he's a big enough star that he could start to transcend his sport?
I do, and there are a couple of keys to that. One, it's his unique style. He's explosive and creative. He moves faster than he should at the size he is. 2, he is a wise person when it comes to analyzing his own game, and he explains the game and MMA better than anyone I've seen. You know, watching him speak, it really is almost mesmerizing, the understanding he has of his game, especially only being 24.
I mean, for people like me who aren't really endeared to that game, he seems to bring an athleticism, the kind of athleticism we associate with great modern athletes, Kobe Bryant. He's got that reach like Kevin Durant, that wingspan. So I think he is the kind of person who could bring in not the traditional fan and being American. I mean, just being American and somebody in an American audience could relate to.
That's a great point. I think that he doesn't look like or sound like a guy that won a tough man's competition in some bar down the street.
No.
The question is, will he bring people to the sport that ordinarily might not go to the sport?
He really could, and I think the eyeball test is what gets him. Yes, he speaks English, so he doesn't suffer the same sort of crossover problems that an Anderson Silva would, okay? But it's what he does to the eye. He is obviously different than anyone out there. He pops. His game is creative.
Guys, good job. See you both tomorrow. Excellent start to the week. All right, coming up next, find out why I want to congratulate Keanu Reeves. Rome Wants our next. Stick around. You do not want to miss it.